Peace and blessings to you all, and happy Sunday. For those of you who are new here, hello, my name is Nicole, and I like to come on here every Sunday to share messages of guidance, share messages that have been channeled, messages that I have been guided to share with the collective. And so it was interesting as I was pulling cards, the message I was intuitively called to ask as I was pulling the cards is, what is the collective here to heal? And as I mentioned in my previous video, giving a sort of overview of what the energies of 2025 would be, a lot of messages that came through was a reminder that we are in a 9-year, so 9 in numerology, which represents the completing of cycles. And essentially, when we are completing cycles, this is really the way, at least I see it, is cycles of healing. Because as we are getting ready to move into the next phase of our lives, there are certain things that need to be put to bed. There are certain things that we need to end. It's kind of like when you finish, when you're moving house, you have to pack up all your stuff and you have to get rid of the stuff that you don't want to move with. And so that is really what 2025 is about. It is about essentially doing the, oh gosh, the word is coming to me in French and not in English. Essentially doing the, in French we would say faire le tri. So that basically means that going through the process of assortment of what you're keeping, what you're maybe selling, what you're getting rid of, what you're donating, and so on and so forth. And that's essentially how you can look at this year, and what will be highlighted to you quite a lot throughout the year is just Spirit will be asking you, what is it that you need to let go of in order to move forward? So it's a lot of going inwards. And I think we've seen this theme reoccurring since around 2020, where there's been a lot of going inwards as people have been forced to start thinking about things differently. People who have perhaps were ignoring all kinds of things and pretending that they were not really happening and sweeping them under the proverbial rug. Well, now all of those things are coming up, and essentially the energies of what is happening now is kind of forcing us to deal with these things that we haven't want to deal with. And so really, when we talk about the awakening journey is also synonymous to the healing journey. Because when we begin this process of awakening and starting to realize all kinds of different things about ourselves, but also about the world around us, we start to realize that there are things about ourselves that we could have done differently. There are changes that we need to make, because most of us set out the intention. It's funny because when we're children, they always ask us, what is it that we want to be when we're adults? And children always have kind of fantasies. Well, because let's be honest, we're not really educated well as to what are the different opportunities that are actually available to us out there within the job market. And so if you think about goals that perhaps you set a few years back and you haven't really reached those goals, now is the time to really take some time to question, are those goals that you set for yourselves the same goals that you still want? Perhaps something has changed, and it's absolutely okay to change your mind. That is part of the journey of life. It is about experiencing all kinds of different things and not being too stuck in one thing, because the main point of our journey here on earth is about growth, is to constantly be in a state of growth, learning about ourselves, improving the way we show up in the world, essentially. And so the awakening journey is about realizing that there are things about us that we need to change, and there are things about the world that need to change. But the world is a massive place, and we're all at a transitionary point where we can see that the world is going in a whole new direction, especially with this trajectory of AI. When we think about, I always make the comparison to where we were when the internet came. Nobody really knew how much this was going to change the world. And essentially that's where we find ourselves once again today, except for we know that the internet changed a hell of a lot in our lives, and that AI is going to change way more than the internet changed. And so there is a lot of change that is taking place at this time, and there is change that is happening on an individual level, there is change that is happening on a local level, there is change that is happening on a national level, there is change that is happening on the global scale. But most importantly, there is also massive cosmic change that is taking place. And this is why some of you might have heard about this transition that we're going from 3D to 5D. And nobody really knows what that looks like, but it means that we are going to be more in control of our energy, because we have to remember that everything is made up of energy. Everything is made up of essentially particles that are vibrating at different speeds. And everything is speeding up. This is why we also see time speeding up. I mean, where the hell did 2024 go? It feels like it just went by in a blip. And people say, oh, it's when you get older, time goes faster. But I really don't think that is true, especially now, because as we are experiencing more and more of the spiritual realm, in that the veil between the physical and the non-physical realm is very, very thin. And it's very interesting, because those people who are on the spiritual path, and again, that word is very loaded, but let's say on the path of self-discovery, on the path of development, on the path of growth, on the path of knowing themselves better, and essentially trying to be a better person in all aspects of what that means. And so, oh gosh, I've just totally lost my train of thought. But as we are developing, we are, that there are many changes. Oh yes, so there are many changes that are taking place, and so this change, why we're seeing the world speed up, is because time is moving faster, because energies are moving faster. And they talk about the vibrational frequency of the planet, which is called the Schumann resonance, and everything is vibrating at a different frequency. And if the vibrational frequency of the earth is speeding up, and the position of all the planets, and there are many shifts that are happening within the planets, the celestial bodies, and the cosmos at large, which is also playing a role as to what we are experiencing now. But essentially, we are going through a point of human evolution where we are going to be seeing the development of human 2.0, if we could call it that. And this is where we have a lot of, the trans movement, this transhumanism movement, which is essentially trying to turn us into cyborgs, where we are part human, part machine. But it is very dangerous, because we don't quite understand the machine part of it. We still don't really fully understand the human aspect. I mean, the fact that doctors still today can't explain so many different things about the human being, and it is because what governs this physical vessel is our consciousness and our soul. And the soul is not something that is tangible. And so what is happening in the world today is that, in ancient civilizations and in ancient times, spirituality and science were almost synonymous. And this is why there was a lot to do with magic, because magic was just another form of science which incorporated spirituality. And so now science is finally beginning to catch up with spirituality, which is why so many more people are becoming open to a lot of these different things, because now we can explain it scientifically. And apparently that's what a lot of people need in order to kind of jump onto the bandwagon. But really, since 2020, I at least have seen a massive shift in the fact that people are just way more open to what was previously once known as perhaps woo-woo, because there is, what one can actually explain these things more scientifically. And so really what this year is pushing us, and at this time, it's funny because I have to just repeat it, is that the new year really actually starts on the 21st of March, when we go into the spring equinox. And this is when we move out of Pisces season into Aries season. And Aries, being the first sign of the zodiac, is really the beginning of the journey of the sun around the zodiac. And so the energy of Aries is about starting anew. So the best way that I can describe Aries energy is kind of when you're striking a match, and that initial spark before the whole match catches fire, that is Aries energy. And that is the kind of energy that we need in order to get things off the ground. So knowing that that is the time that you are moving towards in order to start taking action, but now is still a sort of very inwards time, in that it's still very much about going inwards and reflecting, and again doing that assortment of what it is that you want to get rid of before you start moving forward again in Aries season. So that was a bit of a mouthful, but at least that gives you a little bit of context before we get into the cards. And it's interesting because the different decks that I was called to use today was very feminine energy in nature, and that is also what we are seeing in terms of the transition that we are moving towards, is that we are moving out of a very masculine dominated world into a more feminine centric world. And this is not to be confused with gender. I'm talking about energy here. And so remember that masculine energy is very structured. You know, if you were to depict masculine energy as a shape, it would be a square, very pointy edges. Things have to be done a very specific way. It's a lot of rules, it's a lot of structure. Whereas when we move into more feminine energy, so in a way we can look at the masculine as also the conscious mind, or the sort of the more logical mind, the rational mind. Whereas feminine energy is more circular in nature, and different qualities that belong to feminine energy are things like creativity and beauty and harmony and intuition and psychicness and mediumship and spirituality. All of these different aspects are more feminine qualities. And so we are seeing, you know, and healing is a big part is more so part of feminine qualities, from feminine nature. And so this is what we've seen as we've been living in a society that is very heavily focused on the masculine qualities in the world, we haven't really given way for things like harmony and beauty. And I find the easiest way to look at this is just look at what we depict as art today. When we look at what was depicted as art way back when, and even when we look at the architecture of way back when, there was so much more beauty and harmony in what was created. Another aspect of feminine qualities is justice, and we have been seeing a lot of injustice in the world. And so this is why so many truths are coming to the surface. But part of the healing journey is that because there is a lot of heavy truths about the world that we live in and how this world really operates, which are going to be very difficult for certain people to accept, because there is so much attachment to lies. You know, I just have to say it as it is. There is so much misinformation that we have been sold. There is so much disinformation that we have been sold. And this goes, there is so much programming that we have been sold, because we have to remember that there is a lot of manipulation that is happening at the mind level. And this manipulation, because we have to remember that our biggest source of currency is our energy and our attention, because where our attention goes, our energy flows. And just like, you know, our beliefs are also our energy. And so all the programming that we have received from when we were children, and this is programming that goes back thousands of years, that we have all continued to uphold, essentially because we believe that this is the only reality, but that is simply not true. And so there is a lot of information that is going to continue coming out, that is going to essentially have us questioning a lot of the things that we thought were reality. And that can be very destabilizing, because it's like the foundation upon which your life has been built is not entirely built on truth, or is built on a lot of half-truths. And so as a result of that, when new information is coming in, this is when you start to realize, oh shit, when I was building the foundation of my house, I forgot to put in cement. So maybe you put in all the stones, and so it felt like everything was really sturdy, but you needed that layer of cement to hold all of those stones in place so that you can now build on top of it. And so if you now realize when the house is fully built that you forgot the concrete, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to break that house down. You're going to have to demolish that house entirely in order to make sure that your foundation is totally firm and totally strong. And that is what is happening. All of our foundations are being really rocked, and that can be really destabilizing, and it can be really scary. And what that can do is that can take us into a place of darkness. But what we know on the journey of spiritual awakening and on that journey of healing and getting to know ourselves better is that we have to go down in order to go up. And this is why they say you have to sometimes hit rock bottom in order to totally surrender, because the spiritual journey is not a journey that is controlled and dominated by the physical aspect of ourselves. It is a journey that is really, really, it is a journey of the soul, and therefore it is a journey of our non-physical self. And so the journey of the soul does not work in the same journey as what we've been sold as our 3D physical journey. And so all these rules and these structures that we've been sold, those structures do not apply to the spiritual journey. And that is where it can seem very, very confusing, and that's where we can drop down into a really dark place where it can feel really, really depressing, because when someone comes and pulls the rug from out underneath you, that can feel, very unstable. And now you're just kind of like, I don't know who to be. I don't know how to think. I don't know how to move through the world. I don't know what to believe. And of course, that is very, very scary. So that was a lot to say, but again, some good messages that came through here in order to just help you understand what essentially is taking place both on a collective level and on an individual level. And of course, everyone is at a different part in their journey, so no one is at the same place, and that's where it can also feel confusing. And that's why those of us who are a little bit further ahead on the journey, it is so important that we be there to support the people who are behind us. Because remember when you were in the darkness of your journey and how you needed someone to give you a hand and help you pull you up to the next level, because maybe that step up is really, really big, and maybe you're like me and you have really short legs and you need somebody to kind of give you a hand, so you don't have to like kind of wriggle up on your stomach. It's kind of easier to just get that hand up. So I want to read the first card here. So the first card that we received here is Birch, and the numerology is 4. So again, really what I was talking there about, that foundation. And so really beautiful. I'm pulling here, these cards are from the Earthcraft Oracle. So we have to remember that this journey that we are on, we have to remember that the earth, our beloved Mother Earth, who gives us life and who takes it away from us, especially as we're seeing all of these crazy natural disasters that are happening all around the world, we just have to say it as it is. Mother Earth is pissed. Mother Earth is pissed that, we have essentially moved into her house and we've basically shat everywhere and burnt the house down, left rubbish everywhere. I mean, imagine if you had a house guest move into your house and treat your house like shit and basically cut down half your trees and, start cutting your curtains and, bringing soil into the house. I mean, how angry would you be? You would want that person to leave really, really soon. And that is essentially what Mother Earth is doing. And this is why we are also seeing a lot of death energy at this time, because Mother Earth is, also remnant with Ma'at, which Ma'at in ancient Egypt was the energy of justice, the energy of balance. And there has been way too much injustice going on now. And so, Mother Earth is just like the mother. The mother is soft and loving and nurturing. But when that kid does something really bad that is dangerous for itself, the mother, in that protective mother hen energy, is going to be willing to do horrific things in order to save her child. If somebody comes after a woman's child, that woman is capable of doing horrific things in the name of love to protect her child. And that is essentially what Mother Earth is doing now, because we, the inhabitants, the children of Mother Earth, are essentially doing something that is dangerous. And so Mother Earth needs to put us back in our place. And we have become so complacent and we have become so comfortable, and we continue to pillage our home, thinking that it's going to save itself. Well, because we're not doing what we need to do to be good house guests, well, Mother Earth is kind of saying, well, okay, if you're not going to listen to what I have to say, well, now I'm going to have to take drastic measures, and I'm maybe going to have to beat you around a little bit. And that is what Mother Earth is up to. So let's see what the card says. So birch trees are old, sacred woods that are believed to heal emotional wounds, ward off negative influences, and banish fears. They're also associated with new beginnings, making them the perfect energy to channel for healing old wounds and welcoming new connections. So Birch may come to a reading when you are feeling vulnerable, afraid, and unsupported. Yes, if you find yourself in that abyss, then perhaps you're feeling really afraid, vulnerable, and just not really sure where it is that you're going. You may be feeling the need to hide away from the world, to lick your wounds. If you have experienced trauma or hardship lately, know that extra support is being provided for you and that you are protected while you take this time to heal. Yes, remember that maybe you did not have any physical support in the physical part of your life, but when you, and this is why we have to be taken to rock bottom, because when we hit rock bottom, we have to surrender. We have to surrender to something that is so much bigger than any of us. And that support is available to us. But just because we as humans have learned that seeing is believing, we do not trust that there is something deeper there guiding us. So the worst has passed, and soon you will be able to pick up any broken pieces and put yourself together again, only stronger and more beautifully. Additionally, Birch comes to you as a gentle reminder to build better boundaries, but not by closing your heart. Yes, it's about learning to say no whilst keeping your heart open. There is no space for hatred on this journey of healing. There is no space for hatred on this journey of awakening. So traumatic events can harden the spirit, leaving you jaded and spiteful. Do not let your circumstances prevent you from connecting to others or from taking calculated risks. You may have some deep wounds and brutal bruises, but those will heal in time, and you will be stronger for it. Give yourself space to process, heal, and let go, knowing it will be safe to open your heart again. So yes, do not be afraid to open your heart. You know, it's funny because we can just look at it in our posture. Most of us are closed in our shoulders. You know, think about it, especially that we have all experienced childhood trauma. We've all, and you know, trauma, again, I have to repeat it, is not the massive trauma that we think about, but even something as your mother wasn't there to listen to you when you were in a time of need can be a trauma response, at least on your body and your nervous system, because your brain wasn't fully developed. And so as a result, think about it, when we're children or even when we're adults and we're feeling sad and we're feeling unsafe, what do? Is we close off, we try and protect our heart. And so that is what we have essentially done, is that we have hardened ourselves in order to protect ourselves because we have been hurt by whatever it may be in this world. But now is a time to no longer carry those pains with us. And this is why forgiveness is so important. And we do not forgive for others, we forgive for ourselves, because forgiveness simply means no longer holding on to that pain, that hatred, that resentment, that anger that may have been caused by another person. But it is really about letting go so that you don't have to carry all those heavy bags with you. You don't have to carry those burdens. You don't have to carry those heavy energies that are making you, that are lugging you down. So the next card we have is plant seeds. So the numerology is a 2 here. So 2 is all about partnership. So yes, you know, sometimes we need to plant partnerships. So when it's about planting seeds, it's really about, you know, it is you, the human, that has the seed, and you plant that seed into the ground, and you set the intention that you're going to water that seed, and you're going to weed that seed, and you're going to look after that seed, you're going to nurture that seed until something starts to grow. But of course you have, you know, the rain will come and help you, and the sun is helping you. It's a partnership that happens when we're planting seed. It's a partnership between human and earth. So when we're planting seeds energetically, it's a combination of human and spirit working together. So you are planting seeds, you are setting the intentions to then use your physical actions to help that thing to grow. So yes, we plant seeds first in the mind, and then we take actions for those seeds to be manifested in the physical realm. So as we are getting ready to close the cycle, and as we are getting ready to move into the new year, you can start to question, what are the seeds that you want to plant for your year ahead? What are the things that you want to see grow? Because remember, your energy goes where your energy goes where your Your energy flows where your attention goes. So whatever it is that you are focusing your attention on, that is where you're sending energy. So don't be sending energy to things that you don't want to see happen, but rather send energy to the things that you do want to see happen. So the next card we have here is a 5, 5 being the numerology of change, also the numerology of freedom. So what is it essentially that you want to experience change in your life here? And it's interesting. So as we look at this card here, you know, again, very feminine energy there, and also water is all about emotions. So this card is also calling you to be more aware to your emotional state of being, because we have to remember that our emotions are also what really regulate our energy, because emotions are energy in motion. So think about it when you have, and remember, human beings are more primed to focus on the negative. But so one part of the awakening journey is starting to focus more on the positive, because we live in a world of duality and there is as much positive as there is negative. But because we are all tuned into the negative, that is what we are allowing the energy to continue growing to. But if we all, and again, this is what justice is all about, it is starting to tune more into the positive so that we can help more of the positive energy to grow. But it seems that we live in a world that is constantly telling us that good is bad and bad is good, and that is just, if we really stop to break down and look at the world at large, it seems that people who do bad things are the ones who are uplifted by this society, and that the people who do good, well, they're kind of left behind. And so that is where we need to, the scales of balance have been tilted too much to one side, and so we are in the journey of tilting back to the other side. And so emotions are a very feminine aspect. This is why we always hear, you know, people saying, oh, people who are emotional, it's always women who are emotional. But it's actually quite funny, because men are actually way more emotional than women. It's just that society has done a really good job at making them have to shove it inside, and, you know, telling them that they're weak when they express their emotions, so they bottle it all in. And then this is what happens. There's a lot of violence and there's a lot of anger in the world, because people don't know how to allow their emotions to flow. And with flowing of emotions does require us to be vulnerable. But when we are vulnerable, at least we are real, at least we are authentic, at least we are willing to show people that none of us are perfect. We all experience the whole spectrum of human emotions, and nobody can be good all the time. That is why on the awakening and healing journey, it is about honoring both the light side of who we are as well as the shadow aspects of who we are. Because if we come back to the mother analogy, the mother has to be loving and nurturing, but the mother can also be, you know, angry and devastating in order to save her child. So it is about honoring both those sides of us. We are both light and darkness. And this is why the new age spiritual movement that is continuing to tell everybody, oh, love and light all the time, that's absolute fucking nonsense, because that is not at all honoring the shadow aspect of who we are. And what really needs to be healed is the shadow aspect of who we are, because the shadow aspects of ourselves have been operating in the shadows. This is why the world is the way it is, because everybody is operating from their shadow self, and the shadow self is what lurks deep within the unconscious, that people do things without even realizing what they're doing. And so this is what we are being called to pay attention to, is the things that we are doing unconsciously that are maybe hurting the people around us, and we're not even realizing that we're doing it, because this is a protective mechanism from various trauma that we experience. So it is truly about honoring those different parts of who you are. Beautiful. The next card we have is sacrifice. And the numerology here is 8. So 8 in numerology is all about calling your power back. But 8 in astrology, if we look at the 8th house of astrology, this is the house of Scorpio. This is the house of death and rebirth. This is the house of everything that is hidden beneath the surface. They say this is the house of death, sex, and taxes, because these are all the things that are very taboo. These things are happening all around us in society, but yet they are still taboo to talk about. And because all of these things have been taboo to talk about, so many things have gone unchecked, because people are uncomfortable talking about these things. But yet all of these things have been corrupted within our society. And so, you know, if if we think about sacrifice, sacrifice is necessary for us to get to the next steps ahead. So it was like, the other day I had to commit a sacrifice because Spirit decided that I needed to go more inwards. I just came back from a 5-day trip away. And so on the day I get back, I somehow managed to trip over my own feet, trip over my dog, and twist my ankle. And so I've been hobbling around like an old woman for the past few days because, well, I just cannot really walk. And so that is obviously a sacrifice that I needed to make in order for me to go inwards, because that is what Spirit was calling me to do. And so sometimes these things that we see happening as mistakes, these are actually Spirit guiding us to do something that we're not listening and that we're not wanting to do. So sometimes there are sacrifices that we will have to make in order to move forward on our journey. And that is part of the growth journey. That is part of the development journey, is that realizing is sometimes we will have to leave things behind. We'll have to leave people behind. We'll have to leave circumstances behind. We'll have to leave situations behind. And that is totally okay. That is simply part of the journey. The next card we have here is Medicine Woman. Interesting, we have another 8 on the table. So we had River Woman, Medicine Woman. And so, Medicine Woman is really healer, heal thyself. And so it's understanding that you are your own healer. Anyone who is going to come and tell you that they can heal you, I'm sorry, that's totally fucking rubbish, because nobody is healing you other than yourself, because you have to first want to heal yourself before anybody can help you on that journey. But if you say, I don't want to heal, there's nobody who's going to be able to come and heal you. So that is totally a decision that is only yours to make, that only you can make, and that only you can actually make that transition. Only you can call back your power, because if you want to sit around and be a victim and feel sorry for yourself, then you are never going to be able to take your power back. So just remember that only you have that power to make that change. The next card we have is the ripple effect. Yes, part of something bigger. Details are taken care of. Yes, when you ride that wave, when you hit rock bottom and surrender to something so much larger than yourself, you begin to realize that, it's interesting because here it's a cosmic wave. It's like the opening of a portal. When you hit rock bottom, you enter into that portal. It's like you tell Spirit, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop trying and doing everything myself, and I will actually allow you to help me. And, something that I was incapable of before was I was incapable of asking for help. And so I had to hit rock bottom. And so not to say that this is for everyone, but for those of us who feel that we need to hold on really tightly to everything and have control over everything, remembering that that is also a trigger response. That is a response of trauma that hasn't yet been fully healed. And so when we let go and we surrender and we realize that we are part of something bigger, that is when the magic begins to happen. That's when you realize that you are part of something bigger, and you start to, when I look back to when my journey started in about 2016, when I look back to all the crazy things that have happened since 2016, like I wouldn't even be able to tell you how it all happened. It truly was totally magic, and not like the magic they show us on TV, because magic is really subtle. And that's why we have to get into our subtle bodies. We have to let go of all these heavy baggages that we're carrying, all these heavy energies that we're carrying, because that is what is going to help us to get in touch with our subtle bodies and experience the magic for ourselves. The next card we have is the Sirens. Use your voice. Expansion, freedom. Yes. Beautiful people, it is time to use your voice. It is time to expand. This is all throat chakra energy. The throat is what allows us to express ourselves. But how many of us oppress and suppress what it is that we want to say because we're scared of what people might think about us. We're scared people will think we're crazy. We're scared people won't accept us. We're scared we won't fit in. But that's just a false programming that is running inside of you, because you had to dim your light in order to fit in, because people didn't understand you. People didn't understand what you were experiencing, and so you experienced trauma after trauma after trauma because people couldn't comprehend that you were coming from a higher vibrational frequency and you were more in touch with the non-physical realm than most. And as a result of that, you suppressed and you suppressed and you suppressed, and so you lost sight of who you really are. You lost sight of your true identity. But now it is about expansion and speaking your truth and expressing who you are. The next card we have is Angel's Chalice. You are the oracle. It is about co-creating with spirit. It is your responsibility, because remember, beautiful souls, that every single one of you is the protagonist of your life. You should not be playing, second-hand character. I don't know what you would call it, but you are the protagonist of your life. If someone else is the protagonist of your story, then again things have come out of balance, because you are the oracle. You have the answers. All the answers you need are within you. This is where we are lied to and we are told all the answers are without. We're constantly searching all the people who are unhappy and unfulfilled and depressed and not satisfied with where their life is, and confused and unhealthy and angry and oppressed and all of the different things. It is because we have been sold the lie that where we need to look for whatever it is that we seem to be lacking is outside of us. But no, it is inside. The journey of awakening is an internal journey, because that is where you begin to co-create with spirit. Do not create based of other information that human beings have told you. Create from what it is that you feel in your heart. The next card we have is In Lakesh. You are the other me. Oneness. Yes. When we realize that we are all reflections of one another, whoever it is that we meet, remember, whoever it is that we meet, whoever it is that we come across, whoever it is that our paths cross with, is because these people come. It is Spirit's way of holding up a physical mirror in our lives so that we can see some of the things that we haven't wanted to see about ourselves. It's so easy to project onto others and say, oh, this person did this and that person did that, and everything outside of me is what is the problem, because we don't want to look inside and accept that sometimes we are the problem and we need to change. And that is what we have to realize, is what other people do to us is what we do to them, whether it is consciously or unconsciously. So it is really about becoming aware of the unconscious thoughts and behaviors that we have, because when most people stop and say, how did I get here in my life? Well, it's all the decisions and all the actions that you took. People want to say, I was misguided and I was it wasn't my fault that I got here, but it is your fault. It's you who chose to be here, and that is what free will is about. We always have a choice, and it is in the micro choices that we make that our life ends up becoming what it is. The next card we have is Place. Make peace with where you are. I am where I am. Where I am is enough. Yes, sometimes you just have to take the time to honor where you are. Like me with my, swollen ankle, is forcing me to take time to just stop and not be on the go, and just accept that where I have reached is where I need to be right now, and just take a moment to honor where I am. Because see, what happens when we're on this journey of awakening, on this journey of healing, on this journey of personal development, is that these changes that occur within us are so subtle. They're so subtle that unless we take the time to stop and actually look back to all the things that have changed and who we used to be. And this is why using, keeping a journal can be really, really powerful. Just, again, coming back to expressing who you are, writing things down. It doesn't mean that you have to express it to everyone around you, but at least get it out of you, better out than in, they say. And so when we express what we're feeling and the things that we're contemplating and whatever it is that we're experiencing, it's then easy to go back, months back, years back, and look at where you were and see how much things have changed. So it's important to take time to stop and reflect. Celebrate all the wins that you've made up until now, because you have made wins, no matter how small they are. It is important to celebrate those wins. Otherwise, that's why we fall off the journey. So the next card we have is Navel, connection to the mother, coming back to our mother analogy, balanced, centered. And for me, when I look at this card, connection to the mother for me is connection to Mother Earth, connection to the mother within, because as human beings, whether we are man or woman, we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. we have those masculine and feminine traits within us. And so it is all about coming into balance. And this is why when we see all this transgender movement, this is also a lot of confusion, because there is a sort of coming back into balance of the masculine and the feminine, because we have been so masculine dominated. And so many men are wanting to transition into women because they have been lacking the feminine energies. But what they don't understand is that they don't need to actually transition into a woman to be able to hold those feminine energies within their lives. And it is because so many people are confused, because this information has not been taught to them, that there's also just a lot of distortion there. And so, yes, it is about connecting to the mother within, because we all have to learn to nurture ourselves. It is about connecting to the mother, our earth, where is our home, where we were birthed from. And so finding that balance, the navel, the belly button is the connection to the umbilical cord, which is what connects us to our mother. But not only that, this can also be, seen in a physical sense, is connecting more to our mother. If we have disconnections, if there is a lot of hatreds towards our mothers, perhaps because they weren't present for us, they weren't able to mother us the way we needed when we were children, it's that our inner child is still feeling pain and needs that loving nurturing that we craved to receive from our mothers when we were children, but perhaps lacked. And so what our spirit is calling us is to learn to be that mother for ourselves and learn to nurture ourselves the way we needed, but we didn't receive as we were children. So the next card we have here is solitude. Think of being alone as meaning you are all alone and in total harmony with everything. The greatest treasures are those that wait silently during your quiet times. And so these are messages from the fairy realm. And so, solitude is such a big part of the awakening journey, because what happens, and I think that's why we've seen so many people awakening and so many people embarking on this journey and thinking more about how they're behaving and wanting to better themselves and searching more about what is going on at the world at large, because we spent so much time in solitude during those years of 2021, where we were not, what most people don't realize is that our energy travels out quite far around us. And this is why they talked about social distancing, because it was really that our auras, our energetic fields, the energetic field around our body, which is much bigger than our body, actually has the ability to influence people around us. That's why you can be close to somebody and they're in a bad mood, and suddenly you'll start feeling like you're in a bad mood too, because you're picking up on their energy. And so that's why when we are on this journey of awakening, development, whatever you want to call it, is what happens is that we need to spend a lot of time in our own energy to be able to understand what our energy is when it is not being entangled with all these people around us. And sometimes that journey of solitude can take many, many years. I am somebody who's been really in a journey of solitude since about 2017, 2018. And I was somebody who really despised being on my own. I was incapable of spending time alone, and I realized why I was incapable of spending time alone is because I was afraid to sit with myself. I was afraid to feel all the things that I was feeling. I was afraid to feel my emotions, and that was because I had so much trauma inside of me and so much negativity that I had suppressed for so many years. But as you suppress all of that stuff, eventually it's going to catch up with you. And this is why so many people get sick, because they don't want to deal with those more mental and emotional aspects of themselves. And so when we sit in solitude, when we sit in stillness, this is when a lot of information can come, because as I said, the information is within. What we are really seeking is within rather than without. And so when we are in solitude, that is what gives us the privilege of being able to go inwards and really connect with who we really are. So the next card we have is healing. Now is a time for you to give or receive healing. Everyone has a natural ability to heal others. Yes, even you. So healing looks different in so many different ways. And so it's not like when we're healing a wound and, it goes through that process. Healing on an emotional, mental, spiritual level is, you can you can say something that is so just in passing for you, and just those words will have the ability to heal something so deep within somebody else. You don't realize, just smiling at somebody has the ability to shift and heal something in somebody. Being kind, just being yourself. And this is why we are being called to be our most authentic self. Because if we look at vibrational frequency, and as I mentioned, our emotions will affect at which vibration we are, at which frequency we are vibrating. Love, peace, harmony are at the higher end of the scale, whereas things like shame and guilt and anger are at the lower end of the spectrum. The frequency of authenticity is the most highest frequency of all. So when you are vibrating in your most authentic self, just by you being yourself, your energy has the ability to heal people. Think about how powerful that is. Think about just how powerful your energy is. And that is why we are all being called to heal, because just like trees are antennas for higher vibrational frequencies, we as human beings are also antennas for frequencies coming in from the higher realms. And that's why people have the ability to channel, because when people are open, they can receive these vibrational frequencies. And especially with all the frequencies that we are getting from the solar flares that we are receiving, is actually, because they say Sirius, which is I think it's Sirius B, which is not visible with the physical eye, but yet the Dogon people of Mali, and at the time where they were building the pyramids of Egypt, knew about this star, which is not visible to the naked eye, which is essentially considered to be our spiritual sun. And they say that when Sirius comes closer to the earth, this is when we experience the golden age of humanity. And so that is what we're experiencing, because I'm sure many of you have experienced that the sun is not the same as it used to be. The sun is more white than it used to be. And that is because a higher vibrational frequency is coming through the earth. And this is also why I like to do my videos on Sundays, because it is in honor of the sun which gives us life, the sun which gives us light. So the next card we have is the initiation, rite of passage, crossing the threshold. This is why we have to go through the darkness, because it is when we go through the darkness that we can walk towards the light. This is why when we hit rock bottom, we surrender to something bigger. And this is what humanity is going through. We are going through a massive initiation into the next level of our reality, into the next level where we become human 2.0, where we are more in control of our energy, because now that we are not so aware of our energy and how it affects everything in our life, our energy is being used against us. And this is what we have to understand. And last but not least, I know this has been a bit of a long reading, is take a break. A life's work, not a season. Get off the treadmill. We have been taught that everything is, we live in a world that is always go, 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 go. And this is also what we need healing from. Human beings were not created to exist at the fast pace in which we are existing, in which we are surviving in today's world. We were meant to go slow. It was all about slow living, because when we live slowly, we can be more in connection with the earth and the heavens above. We can be more connected to ourselves and the people around us. And we are living in a world that is supposedly so connected through the internet and now the development of AI, but we as human beings have become so disconnected from what really matters. And so remember, this journey of awakening, it doesn't happen at once. We have decades to go still. We try and get things done now. Everything needs to happen now, but that's where things go wrong. In previous civilizations, people were willing to take time with things. They would take years to build these buildings, and these buildings were beautiful and in honor of both the masculine and the feminine. But so the world in which we have built, because we want to do everything so fast, we want to do everything now, as opposed to, beautiful things come with time. But because we want to do everything now, instant gratification now, people are not willing to wait until later. People aren't willing to make the sacrifice to get things in a little bit of time, as opposed to right now. And as a result of that, this is why we find ourselves in a life full of so much chaos and so much madness. So I certainly hope that this reading has brought you some clarity, brought you some insight. I would love to hear from you in the comments about if any of this is relevant to you, what you are experiencing in your life at this time. And even if you need some help on your journey, please reach out. I would love to be of service to you. Now, remember that these videos are for entertainment purposes only, and that these readings should be really taken with a pinch of salt. You can apply it in whatever way you need. You know, I'm not claiming to be a health professional in any way. So, you know, seek medical advice where you need it. And just know that I am simply here to offer an opinion of what has been guided by spirit. So like and share the video if you resonated with this message, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.